Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today I'm doing a discussion over Forest Shuffle and two of its expansions, Woodland Edge and Alpine. Now this was a game that I actually happened to demo at Gen Con a few years ago, but because it was a demo, I was like, yeah, okay, this one's alright, but it seemed to kind of catch some buzz around that time, and I can certainly see why. This is a very good, kind of just simple, lightweight, nature-themed card game. There's not really, like, a whole lot of, like, substance to it, except that it just kind of has a very good feel to it whenever you're playing. You have tons of cards with both of the expansions added. Like, this is a deck of, after you take, I think, 90 cards out. So there are a ton of different ways that you're going to be scoring whenever you're playing. And it has that mechanic that I enjoy in a lot of games where to play cards from your hand, you have to pay using the cards in your hand. So there's a ton of different ways of how you're trying to gain combos, to play cards into your forest, to maximize their abilities. Searching through the deck, the forest deck, to find very specific cards that you might need if you're trying to go for a ton of different butterflies. You can certainly aim to do that because they could be worth a lot of points. There are cards that rely on you having more in your forest than others. There are cards that need other specific cards to even score points. And that would just be okay, but they did a kind of a really cool system with the card play element in that there's a binoculars icon that if you discard cards that match the color of that, then you get an extra bonus. So like, for example, this brown bear I have in my hand, it costs 3 cards, but if I discard cards, 3 cards that have that color, I get to draw a card and take another full turn. And a lot of cards have that. Every time I've played this game, I've been trying to go for a different strategy, and all of them seem perfectly valid. Like the very first game of this I played, I had like 30 or 40 cards in my cave just because of the cards that were coming out. So while you do rely on RNG, on what the deck is going to put out for you, and what your opponents are going to put out for you, it never really feels bad. This game is not one that you would take way too seriously. You just kind of go with the flow for a lot of it. And, I mean, it's extremely simple to set up. One thing that they did do that I enjoy is that they have this deck of reference cards. So if you have a question on a specific card, you just find it in this stack, and it tells you how it scores. One thing about it that is kind of cumbersome a little bit is its actual scoring. I feel like the scoring kind of takes a little bit longer than it needs to, especially just because you score all your trees, you score animals that are at the top of those trees, bottom of the trees, to the left and to the right, and then sometimes a lot of those cards can rely on other cards being in your forest. Like a good example is like, hey, this is a point for each European hare in your forest, so you just have to make sure that you counted every single one correctly. And I don't know, it just feels like there are times whenever you're scoring, you're like, did I count this one? Oh, I can't remember. I think so, but I'm not really sure, so let's just say I did. It's not that big of a deal, but it is just kind of this element of, it almost feels like the scoring takes longer than the game, which it doesn't. I think the game lasts it lasts a little bit longer than I feel like it should. How you set up the game is there are these Winter is Coming cards that are basically shuffled into the last third of this deck. So whenever you're setting it up, you separate it into 3 different decks, you shuffle 2 of the cards into one pile, and then you put the third Winter is Coming card on top, which I actually do enjoy because that kind of will tell you, oh, we're nearing the end of the game. We just don't know when it's going to end. So whenever you're coming to the end of the game, you're thinking okay, I really kind of want to get this card out. Do I have time to do it? I need to, draw some cards to be able to, pay for this. But if I draw cards, that's going to be that might have me draw the Winter is Coming cards, and there's a real possibility you can draw both of them and the game just ends like that. But the way that the game works when you're drawing cards is also kind of nice because you don't just have to draw. When you're paying cards, you put them into this clearing board, and that becomes open availability for anyone who's willing to draw. But they do another nice thing where if you put, at the end of your turn, if there are 10 or more cards in the clearing, all of them get removed. So, like, there's a nice time element that's not so restrictive, and you can actually, lengthen out the game by drawing cards from the clearing, because if there are cards there that you want, then, you don't have to draw from the deck. So yeah, there's a ton of different options. I like the fact that these cards are split, which just opens up a ton of ways to score, tons of different combinations and ways to play. And that's just in the base game. The base game has quite a few, variety whenever you're playing. And then you add in the 2 expansions, which I believe a third one is actually coming out this year, Woodland Edge and Alpine. I'm going to talk about both of these really at the same time, because all they do is add cards. They do not add any additional rules. They don't complicate the game in any way. These expansions are the perfect kind of expansions for this game. Like, yeah, me personally, I would rather it add a little bit more complexity, maybe some cards that get attached to certain animals, to kind of make it a little bit more combo friendly. However, that's just not what this game is. It's called Forest Shuffle. For not the most creative name in the world, but I can't remember how many cards it adds. 36. So both of them add 36 cards that you just shuffle into the deck. Woodland Edge adds a new card type, which is shrubs, and that just allows you to have different combinations of these cards that all kind of, they're all hyper specific to the expansion that they're adding. Alpine added definitely a new tree, and just a new icon, the Alpine icon. And for those, it actually helped with some of the other cards, like the oak, for example. The oak tree wanted all 8 types of trees to get 10 points. Well, with these expansions, it actually bumps that up to 10. So you're a little bit more liquid on trying to actually score that, because now you don't need 10, you still need 8. Both of these added more butterflies, which just increase how many victory points you can get for it. One thing that I don't like about that is the new butterflies show up to 7. Hey, if you get 7 different butterflies, that's 50-something points. However, all the old butterflies from the base game don't show that. They don't update those butterflies. So it's okay, so if I get 7 different butterflies, but, I guess you would have to have the new ones to even see the scoring. Otherwise, if you don't get those, then it shows you the scoring. So, but yeah, it would have just been nice to have some of the older cards that are referenced in these new expansions updated, just to reflect that, just for uniformity, at least for my OCD. But yeah, so these expansions, I would actually say, are kind of a must for this game, even though the base game has a ton of cards and there's, a ton of ways to actually, I don't want to say play, different combinations to actually build out your forest. You're going to eventually see the same type of thing. You're going to come into a strategy that just worked in one game, and you're going to aim to do it again. The game's not, infinitely replayable. So the expansions throw in just more combinations, different strategies that you can aim for. And with them being so cheap, this game is incredibly cheap and affordable, and all the cards fit into the box. Another expansion, I can't remember what it was called. I literally looked it up right before this. It is called Exploration. Okay, which actually enjoy new caves, a solo with the Automa, and a selection of promo cards. Okay, well, that's pretty neat. Yeah, they could really just pump out a decent amount of just cards for this game. So yeah, it's a good one. I enjoy it. The art is very good. I'm invested whenever I'm playing, even though I do think that it goes a tad too long. The box says 60 minutes. It kind of feels that way, but it feels like it should be like a 45-minute game, which to some people might be like, well, what's 15 minutes more? I mean, that's entirely true, but it's there's just that moment where you hit that edge and you're like, game should be wrapping up. And it does. Like, it's kind of at that threshold where you're thinking, I'm kind of done with my forest. I kind of want to start scoring. And then you play just a little bit longer than that. But it's a very solid game. It's part of Lookout Games' Green Line, which is supposed to be eco-friendly. I don't know exactly if that just means they don't wrap things in plastic or if the cards are made out of recycled material. But yeah, the game doesn't come in any plastic wrap. And some games who try to do that end up fucking up the box by the stickers that they use. This game doesn't have that. That was nice. So I really enjoyed this one. It's a very light game, one you could easily get to the table. The longest part of the game, honestly, is shuffling the deck. Especially when you first buy the game, because all the cards are together, so you have to do a ton of shuffling to get that randomization. But then, after that, you're golden. So yeah, I would be keeping an eye out for all the expansions. Like, I just think more of these kinds of things to this game is a benefit. That's it. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give Forest Shuffle a 7. I think it's a good game. Maybe a 7.5. It's not, quite as complex as, games like Earth is, one that comes to mind. So, it's lighter than that, easier to get to the table, but it still has a decent amount of depth to it. So, I enjoy it. That's it, everyone. That's my thoughts on Forest Shuffle and the 2 expansions for it. Let me know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.